Hello guys and welcome back to another car related video. There is a plane flying over, fantastic. Anyway, I'm going to do a video today on 40 of the most at risk of extinction cars in the UK that are made after the year 2000. So it's 21st century cars that are at risk of extinction. So all of the cars in this list are from are of number less than 1,000. Basically, there are rarer cars, but these are obviously highly at risk of extinction. These are just normal average cars as well. They're not like supercars and stuff, which are obviously going to be rarer, but they're not in danger of extinction because they're preserved and stuff. These cars are unlikely to be preserved and kept sort of in existence, basically. So let's get to it. This is from the website Autocar. They compiled this list of 40 from using the website howmanyleft.co.uk. Very good website. I think you should go and check both Autocar and How Many Left out because they are very useful. So we're starting with number 40 then, and that is the Mini Clubvan. Now, if you don't know what the Mini Clubvan is, it's basically a Mini Clubman, but it's a van. So originally they sold 1,020 of these club vans. Launched in 2012, there are 944 left, which isn't many. I haven't seen many. It's quite a decent amount considering the total sales, though. You'll see some later that were sold in quite a lot more quantity than that, but there's less of them. So yeah, the club van was basically, it's BMW's only van-derived vehicle. And it was a bit of a niche, really. I don't think they intended to sell many, but it's a very cool car nonetheless. I think it was only sold as a Cooper and a Cooper D, though, so it wasn't like fast or anything, but yeah, really cool little thing, niche. I like the Clubman anyway. Don't really like the Club van, I'd have a Clubman, but anyway, pretty interesting one. Number 39 then is a car I really actually quite like. It's the Chrysler Delta, or if you're from Europe, the Lancia Delta, the one that was launched in 2011. Now, it's a very good looking car, gorgeous hatchback. It wasn't as good as the German executives and the British likes of the Ford Focus. Wasn't as good as those, but it's an Italian-derived vehicle with an American badge. I do not know why Chrysler, because Chrysler is part of the Stellantis group, along with Lancia, I believe. So Fiat Chrysler, I think. So anyway, I don't know. So something like that, and they sold them badged as Chryslers. However, they sold 794 of these, and there are 794 left registered on the UK roads, which isn't bad. Or Sawn, by the way. It does include Sawn. So 794 of them left in the UK, and they sold 794. Now, they didn't do a powerful one. They did a couple of diesels and petrols, but nothing too extraordinary. The next one, I saw one of these recently. It is the fabulous Vauxhall VX220. The Lotus Elise rival with its mid-engine power plant came out with 145 horsepower or something like that. Then they increased that to just under 200, and then the VXR220 increased that to 217. But the VX220 came out in 2002. They sold 1,892 originally. There are now 765 left. Now that isn't many, and I did actually see one recently. So I did see a club van a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of months back as well. So must be lucky. There you go. Next is the Lotus Evora, which has been on sale and has only just been discontinued since 2009. So they sold around 850 of these. There's no specific number, but there are 718 left registered in the UK. So 718 of these remaining, something like that. Well, there's not 100% sure on the Evora because but the reason they didn't sell in a large quantity was basically the existence of Porsche and the high price tag of the Evora. But they're a nice car nonetheless. There's 718 of those left in the UK. Next is, you'll see a theme to this actually. one of the first Infinitis on this list. There are many of them, and there was a lot of Cadillacs as well, which we'll talk about that later. So number 36 is the Infiniti FX, also known as the QX70, I believe, later in its lifespan. So this is a 2010 launch date model before the facelift. They sold 663. There are, in all fairness, 663 left. Basically a sort of SUV available with a range of power plants from a 3-litre diesel. There was a 3.7-litre V6 available and a 5-litre V8 available as well. They also did a Vattel version of the FX, called the FX50 Vattel edition with like 414 bhp or something. But yeah, so not many of those left. Next, number 35 is the Dodge Avenger. Now, by European standards, this was a pretty terrible car for a saloon, but it was launched in the UK in 2009 model year. Total sales of 1,085. There are 589 left, so just over half of them are left in the UK. 34 is the Ssangyong Kyron, another reasonably terrible car. In fact, most Sangyongs have been. They're getting better though, in all fairness. Launched in 2006, they sold 1,102 of them. There are 460 Ssangyong Kyrons left, which isn't many, and you'll see the numbers will start going down dramatically. And by the way, the car at the end of this list, there's one left, so it does start going down quite dramatically. Number 33 is a car I absolutely love, and it's a brilliant car. The Citroën C6 that was launched in 2005. Now, SUVs have been all the rage recently, but that didn't deter Citroën from relaunching an executive saloon. In fact, they're doing two. We've got the DS9 and the upcoming C5X estate. So, Citroën, good luck. I give you good luck with that, especially with the DS9, because the DS9 is gorgeous. Anyway, the Citroën C6 came out in 2005 as an executive saloon that was a rival to the German executives, sort of like the 5 Series and stuff, or the 3 Series. But unfortunately, it was a sales flop, even though it was really good looking and a very, very, very good car nonetheless. 781 were sold, only 451 of these left, and it's really sad, definitely one of the sad ones on the list, because there are quite a few of them that are really sad because they're really nice cars. I would actually own a Citroën C6 because I think they're really nice, unique, niche executive saloon, and they're a lot more sort of exciting than the German ones. They're all boring now. Everyone's sick to death about these Mercs and Beamers. Citroën C6s are really cool. The cool factor is above those of the German cars, and I really think they're cool. So next is the Vauxhall VXR8, and if you didn't know, basically Holden sold the Commodore in the UK badged as a Vauxhall, known as the VXR8. Now, obviously, it was launched in 2007 in the UK and survived all the way up until until Holden disbanded. With the VXR8 GTSR was the last one available in the UK. I think it was about 2017 model year. And then about 18, lasted till about 19 when Holden went. That was available with 587 bhp and rear-wheel drive and a manual. Now, of the total sales, 561 since 2007, so that's including the 2007 model all the way up until Holden disbanded, basically. There are 448 left, and I believe in 2014 or something they sold 19, so it gives you a sort of reference to how many they sold in the UK of these Vauxhall VXR8s. Now, obviously, Vauxhall didn't bring the VXR8 to the UK. Well, Holden didn't sell the VXR8 badges of Vauxhall in the UK to sell them. They were just there for those who wanted an alternative to the increase in all-wheel drive and automatic saloons like the M5 and the E63. You could, if you wanted, traditional, big, supercharged V8 up front, rear-wheel drive, manual gearbox, 500 plus horsepower. You could have that if you wanted it as an option. They also did an estate version, which sold in incredibly tiny numbers, and I've never ever seen one in my life. And I've seen quite a few Vauxhall VXR8, so gives you a bit of a reference. Number 31 was the Rover CityRover, a rather rubbish small super mini, launched in 2003. They sold 8,666, of which only 420 are left. Now that's one of the examples of a higher, well, I'm not saying it's a high number of total sales, but it's a higher number of total sales with a really low number that are left. So there's 8,666 originally sold, 420 are left in the UK of the Rover CityRover. They were rather terrible though, rebadged from an Indian Super Mini. So yeah, they weren't very good. So I'm sort of happy there's only 420 left. Number 30 is the Peugeot Ion, don't know how to pronounce that. Electric sort of pig-ugly hatchback, launched in 2011, along with the Citroën C-Zero and the Mitsubishi i-MiEV, which you'll see later on. There's less of those left than the Peugeot. Launched in 2011, they sold 396, of which 396 are left. 29, Infiniti Q70. Says that there's an SUV. Hang on. I think that's meant to say QX70. Either way, Q70 is a saloon. This means this is supposed to say the QX70. So the SUV, basically the FX. Launched in 2013, they sold 382. Now there are 376 left, so it's not too bad. There's only been 6 lost since 2013, so who knows. But yeah, there's not many of those left, and it will be a massive ring with Infiniti because they're quite an unsuccessful company in the UK. Next is the Fiat Croma. Total sales is estimated at about 1,020. It was launched in 2005. Numbers left, 366, but does contain some of the first generation Chromas, which I believe are pre-2000. So that's including some of the first gen Chromas. Don't really know much about the Chroma. It wasn't that good, really. It was alright. It was just a normal, mundane, sort of a small estate, so it wasn't really that interesting. But it wasn't that bad either. I mean, nothing exciting. Number 27 is the Subaru B9 Tribeca. One of the ugliest Subarus probably ever built. Launched in 2006, they sold very little of these small SUVs, which had quite a large engine up front. 2006, they sold 685 in total, with 368 left. Its flat six didn't help. It was very, very thirsty, and yeah, it's really expensive to run, especially now. So I'm not surprised there's not many left. Next is another really cool saloon car. Bit more recent than the likes of the Citroën C6. Launched in around 2013-ish model year. It was Suzuki Kizashi. It was basically built for the American market, but Suzuki decided to try and sell some in the UK, rather unsuccessfully. But it did have a really nippy engine up front, all-wheel drive was available. They only sold 340, of which there are 308 left. Now, one of my mates recently saw a Kizashi, and I forgot how rare they were. So, yeah, Kizashis are really rare. They're very good looking, pretty nippy, good saloon cars. They just came at the wrong time and didn't sell in high quantity. Basically, it's another victim of bad snobbery because everybody buys Audis and Mercs and don't buy Suzuki's. But yeah, it wasn't as good, but it was the heart not head choice. But unfortunately, a sporty saloon from Suzuki didn't sell well, of which there are quite a lot of saloons on here as well. Next is the Proton Impian. I know very little about this car, except from as most Protons were, it's going to be largely terrible. Launched in 2001, they sold 2,324 with just 304 remaining. Oh, another one, here you go. Infiniti with the M30D and the M35H. So, they came out in 2010 and 2011 respectively. Basically, the M30 is the 5 Series rival that Infiniti made in the in the late noughties, basically, to early 2010s. And in fact, it's quite a good looking saloon car. There's not really much wrong with it, except from it didn't sell. The M30D came with a 3-litre diesel V6 and they sold 74 in total. And the M35H was a 3.5-litre V6 hybrid and they sold 240 in total. Combine that and there are 278 Infiniti M30Ds or M35Hs left. Only 278 in total left. But 74 of the diesel isn't brilliant, and in fact the least selling Infiniti M saloon is the M37, which you'll see later on. Next is the Cadillac BLS, which is actually surprisingly the most popular Cadillac left. And it was not that brilliant. Basically, this was a Saab 9.3 rebodied and sold in the UK as a Cadillac. Doesn't look anything like a Saab 9.3, it's because Cadillac did the styling. Came out in 2006, remained for quite a while really. I think it was about 2011 they stopped selling cars in the UK, something like that. They sold 597 of them with 277 left. You do see them knocking about actually, in all fairness. I've seen a few BLSs. They weren't very good, to be honest with you, especially interior wise, because it was typical Cadillac bin hard plastic. But yeah, you don't see many of them. But Cadillac basically did try and have a spell in the UK where they did sell cars. So they sold the CTS, I think they sold the Escalade as well, some other bits and bobs, including the STS, other ones like that. Most of them are on this list, and you'll see them later on because they're incredibly rare in the UK and they didn't sell very well. Right, number 22, as previously mentioned, is the Mitsubishi i-MiEV. This came out in 2009. They sold 277 in total, with 229 left. So there's not many MiEVs left, and I'm not surprised because they're not very good. Then it's the Citroën C-Zero. All of them are just badged and engineered. They're all basically the same car with different badges. Came out in 2011. They sold 237 with 210 remaining. Oh, one of the other sad ones. Number 20 is the Lexus IS F. Now, you will all know of the IS, the Lexus saloon car that rivaled the 3 Series. There's a lot of those left. There's loads of them. However, the F version, the sporty one with a 5-litre naturally aspirated V8 and 417 bhp, is incredibly rare in the UK. Came out in 2008. Only 232 were sold, with sadly only 186 ISFs left in the UK, which is a really low number, and is quite sad because they were actually very good cars. They weren't as good as the M3, in all fairness, the E92, or the E90 saloon, shall I say, but they were very good alternatives. And when you coupled the main 4 saloon cars of the day, the C63 AMG with its 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8, the Audi RS4, 4.2 litre naturally aspirated V8, BMW M3 E90 saloon, 4 litre naturally aspirated V8, and the Lexus ISF with its 5 litre naturally aspirated V8, you had 4 big V8 sports saloons, and they were all brilliant as well. But yeah, that's a really sad one because they were very good cars. Only 186 ISFs left. And now for another Infiniti is the Infiniti G37. Very good looking coupe from 2009. They only sold 207 of these with 178 left. Now a little bit of info. Sports coupe basically was just a 2-door version of the 4-door M vehicle. Sort of similar like that, basically. 3.7 litre V6, which also featured in the Nissan 370Z and other Infiniti models as well, and other Nissan models, blah, blah, blah. About 316 bhp at the time that they were brought to the UK. They also did the G35 as well, which I think was badged as the Nissan Skyline in Japan, but I don't know. But I know they did the G35 as well, which is the older one. But I do actually quite like the G37. I think it's a really nice car. Nippy, 0 to 60 sub 6 seconds, top speed of 155. It was electronically limited in the UK. So, very good car, very good looking car. Just sadly only 178 left. It wasn't as good as other coupes on the market, but then again, You don't always want the best. You always want the one that's got the more character and the uniqueness. So there you go. Another one, really nice one. This another Infiniti, the Q60, basically the modern version of the G37. They only sold around 200 of these since it was launched in 2014. Now, Infiniti pulled out of UK sales in 2020. There are no Infinitis left on sale in the UK. So in those 6 years, they only sold about 200 of them. But very good looking car, very good car. We had a range of models. In fact, I think we only had 2 petrol actually. So we had the 3-litre turbo V6 with 400 bhp, and we had the 208 horsepower 2-litre turbo 4-cylinder. The Q60 3-litre, the Q60S was the one with the 3-litre. Could do 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds, top speed 155 with the all-wheel drive system, and it was fabulous to look at. Had really nice interior, and genuinely is a very good car. But obviously, because of Infiniti's decline anyway, they didn't sell very many, and there are only 176 left, which is sad considering it's quite a modern car. It's one of the more modern cars on this list as well. So yeah. Number 17 is a very sad one. I really like these cars. The Renault Avantime. Now, the Avantime is basically probably the only MPV coupe in the world. 2-door sort of MPV sort of thing, but it had Renault levels of luxury, incredible amount of kit, fabulous V6 engine. It was front-wheel drive, handled fairly well for its size. It was pretty nippy as well. They could get up to about 240 bhp from these. And yeah, very good looking as well. Absolutely love Avantimes. They're very good cars as well. Came out in 2002. It was a sales disaster, selling only 393 of them with 158 left. Next is another one that Renault had a sort of disaster with, which at the time of the Avantime, there was also the Vel Satis, which came out in 2001. They sold 1,284 of these huge executive hatchbacks, available with very similar engines to the Avantime, incredible levels of kit as well, luxury, very out of the norm for Renault, and that was sadly what put an end to the Vel Satis with 155 of these left. My grandma's next door neighbour used to have a Vel Satis. Don't have it anymore though. I saw one recently actually. I saw a Vel Satis recently. I actually see Vel Satis a little bit more than I do Avantimes, but yeah, both of them were niche luxury cars that, unfortunately, being out of the norm for Renault didn't pay off. One of the times it didn't pay off, because they have had some niches that have really done well. Yeah, sad ones, because they were very good cars. Next, the Infiniti EX 30/37. So the EX is the smaller SUV that they did. They did the FX and the EX, or the QX50 and the QX70. Launched in 2009, they sold 174, of which 151 are left. So they're basically similar engines to the FX, apart from you couldn't get a V8. So the highest power output one you could get was 3.7 litre V6. Not too bad at all. Next is the Aston Martin Signet. Now, if you don't know anything about the Aston Martin Signet, it is Aston's slowest, probably, and smallest car, basically. Especially from the 21st century. Came out in 2011. It was a rebadged version of the Toyota IQ. Featured a 1.33 litre engine with about 90 horsepower something. Not a lot. 0 to 60, just under 12 seconds. It was a sales disaster, being ridiculously expensive. Not a brilliant idea from Aston, but sort of a weirdly cool one nonetheless. However, they're actually worth more than early V8 Vantage examples, the ones with the 4.3 litre V8. Signets now are worth more than that on the second-hand market because of how rare they are. So they sold 154 with 137 remaining, which isn't a lot. So we're getting to number 13, and it is the Cadillac CTS. Now, the CTS isn't actually that good by European standards as a car. However, it must be said that the CTS-V, especially the one that came out in about 09, or something, is piggin' brilliant. Absolutely fabulous car. They offered a manual as well, I think, with the 6.2 litre supercharged V8, now whacked up to 556 bhp, could do 191 miles an hour, Z60 in 3.9 seconds. Awesome to drive, great sounding, and obviously being a Cadillac, it was actually quite a luxurious car. It just wasn't as good as the European examples. Now, obviously, they did actually sell the CTS-V in the UK, along with the 3.8 litre V6 and a couple of other engines that they did. I think there was a 2.8 litre one as well. Oh, it was a 3.6 and a 2.8 or something like that. I can't remember. But they did sell it all the way from 2005 as well, with the older 400 horsepower CTS-V being available in the UK. Unfortunately, all the way up until about 2012, I think, when they got rid of them, they sold the CTS wagon as well. This includes the estate one and the coupe. They sold the coupe, especially, and the V. They sold the CTS-V wagon and all the other versions, and the CTS saloon with the V. So they sold all the sporty ones. There are 299 sold originally. There are 126 left. So not many. Bear in mind that they did loads of different versions of the CTS as well. So they didn't sell many. And yes, the standard versions weren't that good, but the V versions were fabulous. In all honesty, especially for American cars. Like, one of the very few American cars I would actually own is a CTS-V wagon from 2011, and the more modern CTS, which isn't available in the UK. You have to import them. Another American car now that was available before most American companies pulled out of UK sales, the Chevrolet Volt. Now, this was a hybrid that shared a lot of its powertrain with the Vauxhall Ampera, which did sell a lot better. It was launched in 2012. Total sales of 130. Numbers left 113. So they're not too bad considering they only sold 130 and there's 113 left. So number 11 is the Hyundai XG, an executive saloon that was launched in 2000. Sold 698 of them, left 51. There's only 51 Hyundai XGs left. Sure, saw something similar to something like one of those recently. You do see stuff like that, really rare old Korean or Japanese saloon cars knocking about now. Number 10 is the Renault Fluence, which came out in 2012. It's a small electric saloon. I believe in other markets they did petrol and diesel versions of the Fluence. They sold normal ones. However, in the UK, the Fluence was only available as the ZE electric one. Launched in 2012, it was a sales flop, selling in numbers of 79, and numbers left, there are 51 left, but it wasn't a very good electric car because it came out before the electric craze anyway, which is annoying because electric cars are not that good, in all honesty. And basically, it was slow, didn't have very good range. However, on the second-hand market, prices have risen due to EV boom. So, yeah, but it's one of the really rare ones. We are moving down to below 50 now, and the final 10. Number 9 is the Maybach 57 and 62. Now, this is obviously, you've heard of, hopefully, the Maybach 57 and 62. Now, Maybach 57 is a small one. I believe it was 5.7 metres, and the 62 is 6.2 metres, the long wheelbase version. Executive saloons, built by Maybach, is basically a much more luxurious and V12 powered version of the S-Class. I think they had a 5.5 litre and a 6 litre one, something like that, up to 600 and odd horsepower. And they weren't fast though, they were like the Phantom, they had a big V12 and didn't really shift. But they only sold 81 since its launch in 2003. This doesn't include the current Mercedes Maybach ones. They they sell in really high numbers. This is just the original Maybachs that were sold in 2003 onwards, until Maybach sort of was bought by Mercedes in about 2015 something. So the original Maybachs, they only sold 81, of which there are 49 left. Number 8 is another Cadillac. It is the SRX. Now this is a big American flipping luxury SUV. I think it's bigger than the Escalade actually, or something of similar size, the SRX. Launched in 2006. In the UK they sold 55, and there are just 30 of them left. So not many at all. And rather useless Cadillac coming to the UK, wasn't it, with the sales. Number 7 is a really, really silly one. It's the Smart Crossblade. However, it genuinely did go into production in 2003. So, a silly, roofless, and windscreen-free version of the Smart Car. They sold 27 of these cars. However, it does say that there's 30 left. But I think that's because they sold... there are some left-hand drive versions in the UK. But in the UK, in right-hand drive form, they only sold 27, and there are... yes, there's only 27 right-hand drive, and the total of 30 does include a couple of left-hand drive examples that were brought to the UK from other countries. So that's why that number is higher. But yeah, basically, there are less than 27 right-hand drive Smart Crossblades left in the UK. It's only 30, including the left-hand drive models. Next is the Hyundai Grandeur, another luxury, or executive saloon car from Hyundai. Hyundai don't do well with executive saloons, and now they've brought Genesis to the UK. Happy, because Genesis cars are brilliant, and they're really good looking, and some of them are really fast and really sporty, and I really like them. But I don't know whether they're going to do very well sales-wise. They did do the Hyundai Genesis saloon in about 2014, 2015, and that sold really badly, so they pulled out of selling that. But Hyundai have gone really, really good recently. Bearing in mind that in 2005, Hyundai didn't really sell very great cars, and neither did they when they sold the Genesis Coupe and the Genesis Saloon in the UK, and they didn't sell. I don't actually think they sold the Genesis Coupe much. But yeah, so basically they didn't sell very, very good cars. But now, the i10 is brilliant, the i20 is brilliant, the i30 is brilliant. They sell the Ioniq 5 executive hatchback, the electric one, that's fabulous. The Ioniq hybrid and electric sort of hatchback is also very good. All the SUVs, very good for what they are. I wouldn't have an SUV though. So I think bringing Genesis is a good idea now. But anyway, when the Grandeur came out in 2005, they sold just 39 of these cars, with 26 of them remaining. You can guess what the next one is. It's either a Cadillac or an Infiniti. I'll let you guess now. Genuinely, it is a Cadillac. This time it is the STS. Basically the bigger version of the CTS. The larger luxury saloon. Sold in tiny numbers when it came to the UK in 2008. 31 were sold, and there are 22 left. Next is a sad one, but it's because sadly the company went bust. The MG Xpower SV, a V8 manual rear-wheel drive sports car by MG in 2004. I have seen some of these. It was very adventurous, and yeah, basically MG sold it when it was unfinished, and their ambitious MG rivaling, the 911 rivaling money wasn't warrant for the Xpower. So MG basically went bust with Rover in about 2005, after they went bust again earlier than that. So sadly, the MG Xpower SV didn't sell in many numbers. There are just 36 of them that were sold. It did have its flaws. Its interior was terrible. The panels weren't of very good quality, the carbon fibre ones it was made out of, and it wasn't particularly good looking, but it was good to drive, and its 4.6 litre Mustang derived V8 did produce 320 horsepower. In base form that went up to about 400, but you could tune it if you had the ability, if MG would have probably sold more. I think it could go up to about 1,000 horsepower, which is unnecessary. But the 320 was pretty quick, but unfortunately there's only 11 of them left. I have actually seen one, and I was incredibly surprised how rare they were when I found out, well, when I found out how rare they were, I was like, oh my god, I actually did see one. But yeah, I think it was I think it's one of the sadder ones. The MG ambitiously tried to stick a V8 in a sports car and didn't sell many, but they did also shove a 4.6 litre Mustang V8 in the Rover 75, known as the MG ZT260, which I also really like, and I think I would own one of those as well, with 256 bhp and a big V8. It was crazy. But that was MG. They knew they were going, so they thought, stuff it, let's do it, make it crazy. So, very sad one though. Number 3 is the Infiniti M37. So I mentioned this one before. This is the same basically as the M30D and M35, except from it had a 3.7 litre V6. Now I would like to note that in other markets they did sell an M56, which had a 5.6 litre 414 horsepower V8. I don't think the UK got that, and it will have been certainly on this list, I think, if we would have. I'm sure it was a 5.6. I think that's what the engine was in the FX50 Vital. I can't remember. I know they did a M56, I think, with a 5.6 V8. I'm sure they did. Anyway, I might be wrong. If I am wrong, stuff will be on the screen, but I'm sure that I can remember that rightly. Anyway, the M37 features the 3.7 litre V6 that they used in other Infinitis and the Nissan 370Z. And they sold 13. They sold 13, genuinely. They sold 13 after its launch in 2010. How bad is that? That's so pathetic. Numbers left, 12. Next is a small electric van. It's a bit of a weird one. It's electric, for starters. It's called the Mia Electric. I didn't even know they sold this in the UK. 2013. There were 18 sold in the UK, and there are 10 left. I didn't even know that thing existed, to be honest. In the UK, that is. Number 1. Are you ready? Drum roll. The Cadillac XLR. Yep, the sporty convertible Cadillac that they also sold as the XLR-V. They sold in the UK after its launch in 2007. They sold a total number of 3. There are, at home, 1 left in the UK. So, basically, that's it. That is 40 of the most at risk of extinction modern cars, basically, in the UK. Now, there are rarer cars, there are more supercars that are a lot rarer than that. There are several other cars that are, just rarer in general. However, genuinely, those are really definitely at risk of extinction. Let's help save them, because there are some really good ones on there. I like the XLR, I like the ISF, the MG Xpower SV is another really good one. The Cadillac, the Citroën C6, shall I say. The CTS Vs, and well, the V versions of the CTS is the standard ones can go. Basically stuff like that. All the really sporty, cool stuff that's on there. The Avantime, I'd like to see that saved, definitely. The Vel Satis. There's loads of cars on there that should not be nearing extinction. It is sad. But anyway, hope you've enjoyed learning about these cars and how rare they are. There is more content like this coming very soon, I promise. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Comment below any thoughts you have. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you're alerted when I make a new upload. There'll be lots of stuff on Horizon 4 and Horizon 5 and more stuff like this very soon. You can also subscribe to my Model Rail account if you're interested in the railways. But until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you very, very soon.